Until the so-called credit crunch, buy-to-let was seen by many as a surefire way of making money. But an exclusive Channel 4 News investigation has discovered evidence that Britain's biggest buy-to-let lenders are tightening the screws. We found that the majority are demanding more from borrowers, with some not accepting any new business at all. Repossessions are rising, and at auction, new-build flats are selling for 26% less than the original sale price. With more than half of the landlords owning at least one new-build flat, could buy-to-let be the UK's version of subprime? Our business reporter, Katie Russell, has this.
The capital of the north, and a frenzy of building has left Manchester almost unrecognisable in 10 years. In 1997, there were 1,000 flats in the city centre. 10 years later, that number up above 16,000. But few buyers actually want to live here. The building spree fuelled by investors. The UK now has more than 1 million buy-to-let landlords, and they owe British banks £122 billion. That figure's doubled in just 3 years.
When a landlord tries to exit, they're in negative equity, they're trapped.
I've seen a significant increase in my mortgage repayment.
The level of repossessions will go up and up.
Gloom-filled predictions of economic woe to come haven't stopped the cranes. In Manchester, 3,300 flats are under construction now, with more than 11,000 in the planning pipeline.
There are 260 flats in this one development, and across this city they're being bought by investors who come from across the UK, Ireland and even further afield. Some of them have never even been to Manchester. If they had, they might have noticed that there are developments like this one going up all over town, and that their hopes of rising property prices and soaring rents may be way out of line with reality.
The city's changed over the past 5 years dramatically.
It's a tenant's market. Francesca Makin pays a knockdown rent for her 2-bed flat, £800 a month in the heart of town. Her landlord would have liked £1,100.
With what's about at the moment, it's great for me. I can go around and there's so much available. You know, you can take your pick of a bunch at the moment, for 2 beds anyway.
And haggle the price down?
Of course.
Ms Makin rents from her boss, who bought 3 new flats as an investment. She paid £212,000 for each of them. They were valued £50,000 higher. That was before rival new builds started sprouting in Manchester like weeds.
I certainly wouldn't be able to sell them at the price I bought them at for 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, I'd go so far as to say, with my experience in the Manchester market, I'd probably lose 30–40,000.
Ms O'Connor has 3 flats like this. Her repayments went up £300 a month on each one when her original deal with Paragon ended, making the rents 41% less than she pays out in mortgage and service charges.
I was in a catch-22 situation because the rental price had fallen down, my mortgage payment had gone up, but then I couldn't rent the properties out because the rental prices had gone down. And without a doubt, the mortgage payment was a lot higher, and the rental wouldn't pay for it, so I can't remortgage to get another favourable rate.
Glenn Ackroyd could be snapping up cheap properties if he chose. His company buys them from people who can't afford their mortgage, and he's seen landlord inquiries rise 145% since January. But even he won't touch this new build market.
In the first 3 months of this year, we've seen over 1,000 inquiries from buy-to-let apartment landlords looking to sell. We typically pay 80% of the market value. When they come to us to bail out, they realise it hasn't worked, their fingers have been burnt, and they're looking to exit. Unfortunately, because often the values have plummeted to below their mortgage levels, we simply can't help them.
The new build apartments market in the UK has many echoes of the US subprime crisis. There's been overbuilding among a number of UK cities, sort of mini Floridas, if you like, thousands and thousands of apartments still coming out of the ground, a rise in repossessions, very serious falls in prices when they come to auction.
Channel 4 News has conducted research into the buy-to-let market, and we've found a triple whammy of mortgage misery ahead. Take the deals open to people with poor credit histories. Those products used to account for 1/3 of the market. Just a year ago, there were more than 1,400 of them available. Now, there are just 6.
That number important because those credit-impaired landlords will need to remortgage at some point and may be stuck. Up to 250,000 buy-to-let loans are up for renewal this year, and the good deals have all but disappeared. 2/3 withdrawn since the credit crunch began, from almost 4,000 products on the market to just above 1,000. Significantly, 8 of Britain's top 10 lenders now won't lend more than 75% of a new build flat's value, and Capital Home Loans and Mortgage Works won't lend on new build flats at all. The Woolwich isn't keen either.
Well, new build, we've taken a little more cautious view on new build. We now offer to a maximum of 65%. Now that's a realistic appraisal of where the new build market is at the present time for buy-to-let. I think that people in the past may have looked and said every area is going to go up. Well, that's not always the case.
And as the big banks tighten the screw on buy-to-let, putting up their interest rates, demanding bigger deposits and higher monthly rental income to cover the mortgage, we've learnt they're now also turning thousands of customers away through a filtering system they don't usually make public: tougher credit checks.
None of the top 10 lenders would go into detail. Capital Home Loans told us it has reassessed its risk appetite in reaction to prevailing market conditions. The Mortgage Works said it has made changes, but how we credit score applicants is commercially sensitive and would not be discussed externally. And West Bromwich Building Society said it's implementing a new scorecard for buy-to-let, with what it called a modest tightening of the pass rate.
It may well be that somebody who would have been granted a mortgage by a lender 6 months ago now, in identical circumstances, might find that they're rejected purely because the lender has pushed up the credit score pass mark in order to get a mortgage.
In Manchester, for Alison O'Connor, it adds up to one thing. She's stuck with her current lender. While she thinks she can just weather the storm and meet those higher payments, many others can't. British cities have reached saturation point. Thousands of flats stand empty, oversupply pushing down rents. A middle-class investment boom on the back of buy-to-let now stalling. Its impact could be felt by us all.
Katie Razzle reporting from Manchester.